"You can't kick us out. This is our family home," my sister said, but I inherited it. So I sent her a 30-day notice and changed the Wi-Fi password while she was on Zoom. I was sweating through my shirt when I handed her the envelope, not because it was hot. Jessica, 25 female, my younger sister, always ran the AC too cold in the house, but because I knew what was coming the moment she opened it. I'd spent weeks trying to psych myself up, running through conversations in my head, but nothing could have prepared me for the look she gave me after reading those 3 lines. The notice was short, legal, and devastating. 30 days, she read, blinking. You're kicking us out? United States. Like she wasn't the only one who moved into my house without asking. Like she didn't bring her boyfriend, Tyler, 27 male, currently unemployed and on his 5th business idea, and their 2 toddlers who thought the living room was a jungle gym. Like she didn't change the Wi-Fi password for safety 2 months ago and never gave it back, like I was the intruder in my own home. "I'm not kicking you out," I said. "I'm enforcing my right to live in the house I inherited without being treated like a spare tire." Jessica scoffed, that same bratty eye roll she used to give Mom when asked to do chores. "You think just because Jake died and left you this place that you get to control everything?" I flinched. Jake was our older brother. He was 34 when he died last spring. House went to me in the will, not Jessica. Not even a mention of her, which says everything. But she's not wrong about one thing. I didn't expect to own the house either. Jake and I weren't exactly close. He was 10 years older and always somewhere between too busy and emotionally constipated. Still, when I opened that letter from the lawyer, saw my name and the deed, it didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a final apology from someone who knew they'd let me grow up in Jessica's shadow. See, Jessica's always been the loud one, the sparkly one, the one who cried in public, posted her trauma, and made strangers feel like they knew her after one brunch. I was the background sibling, quiet, studious, reliable. When Jake died, she moved in before the funeral flowers even wilted, said she needed space to heal and that family should stick together. That was 6 months ago. At first, I let it slide. She was grieving, Tyler was struggling. The kids were loud but sweet, and truthfully, I was lonely in that big house. But the longer they stayed, the more invisible I became. She started redecorating like it was her name on the mortgage. Tyler converted the garage into a podcast studio he never used. One night I came home and the key didn't work. She'd changed the locks. Said she thought I lost mine. When I confronted her, she laughed. "Don't be dramatic. It's all our home now." It wasn't. Not even close. The final straw was 2 weeks ago. I was sitting in my room trying to finish a Zoom interview, my first serious job lead in months, when her kids started screaming outside the door. I texted her. No response. I walked out to find her doing a TikTok dance in the kitchen, music blaring. I lost it. "You don't even pay rent," I snapped. She didn't blink, just kept filming. "It's our family home," she said. "You can't kick us out." I guess I wanted to prove her wrong. So I did what she never expected. I changed the Wi-Fi password back and waited until she was mid-Zoom, presenting her latest brand coaching gig. The frozen screen, the lagging audio, the look on her face when it cut out. I'll admit, it felt good. So yeah, she got her 30-day notice, printed, signed, delivered. And when she tried to argue again, I just said, "You wanted me to take up space. Congratulations. I'm taking my house back." Jessica didn't speak to me for 3 days after the notice. Correction, she didn't speak at me. She spoke around me, about me, over me, loud enough for the whole house to hear. Every phone call on speaker, every passive-aggressive comment thrown like confetti. "He's being completely unreasonable," she told someone, probably her best friend Kelsey. "It's giving like insecure man vibes. He's doing this because I have something going for me." Something going for her? She hadn't worked a steady job in 2 years. Her last brand client was a girl from Instagram who paid her in crystals. Meanwhile, I'd been grinding for months, teaching freelance coding classes online just to stay afloat. Jessica wasn't healing here. She was squatting in the ashes of Jake's legacy and calling it empowerment. She started making messes she didn't clean up. I'd come downstairs to find every pot used, pans still crusted from dinner she made for the kids, then left out like I was the maid. Tyler started leaving beer bottles in the recycling bin uncapped, letting them stink up the whole kitchen. Once, I stepped barefoot on a Lego in the hallway at 2 a.m. I almost screamed bloody murder. She knew what she was doing, and she thought she was winning. Then came the guilt trip phase. Day 4, she cornered me by the washing machine. "You know," she said, folding one of my shirts wrong, "Jake would have never wanted you to evict your family. We're all we have now." Something about that sentence made my skin crawl. Jake did leave the house to me. He'd been deliberate. And suddenly I was starting to understand why. He knew Jessica's brand of chaos. Maybe he hoped I'd have the spine to protect what he couldn't. I stayed silent, but she saw it in my face. That flicker of resolve. That was the turning point. Jessica doesn't respond to no with reflection. She responds with escalation. It started with Tyler. He pulled me aside that weekend while the kids were napping. Look, man, can we be real for a second? He said, rubbing the back of his neck like he was about to confess to a felony. This whole thing, it's just temporary. We've been having a rough patch. I got a gig coming up soon. Some voiceover work. My cousin's connecting me. Voiceover work? The man had a smoker's rasp and couldn't read a bedtime story without stumbling. I've given you 6 months of temporary, I said, and you've given me a house full of noise, unpaid bills, and no boundaries. He muttered something about power trips and stormed off. The next day, the kids were suddenly too sick to go to daycare. Then they weren't sick enough to stay in their room. I had a Zoom workshop with 40 students listening to me break down Python syntax, while Jessica's youngest screamed bloody murder in the background because someone flushed his favorite action figure. It wasn't just inconvenience anymore. It was sabotage. Then came the first act of war. I came home late one night from a library session and found my room unlocked. The drawers were open, my laptop gone. I ran to the living room. "Where's my MacBook?" I asked, heart pounding. "Oh," Jessica said casually, not looking up from her phone. "Tyler needed it for some work stuff. You weren't using it." That's when I snapped. "That's a $2,000 machine with my login, my files, my entire business on it." "Relax," she said. "You're being paranoid again. God, this is why no one ever lived with you before." And there it was. The gaslight, the manipulation. I didn't argue. I didn't scream. I went straight to my room, pulled out the backup drive Jake gave me years ago, and started transferring everything I cared about to it. That night, I changed every password I owned. Google, banking, PayPal, the home security account. I locked down the thermostat. I ordered a keypad lock for my bedroom door. I was done playing landlord. I was about to become an exorcist. The thing about a storm is, it never hits all at once. It rolls in slow. Dark clouds first, then the wind shifts, the smell of rain. The world changes in those little ways before the lightning ever cracks the sky. Jessica didn't see it coming. She thought she had time, thought she could guilt, gaslight, and manipulate her way into staying. Maybe she assumed I'd cave, the way I always did growing up. I was the quiet one, the weird sibling, the one who kept the peace, the one who cleaned up after her messes, who drove her drunk friends home in college, who paid her traffic tickets because they'd triple if they went to collections. But something broke in me that night. I found my door open. It was symbolic. Sacred space violated. The one place in the house I had carved for myself, tainted by people who didn't even knock. And when I told her that, calmly, firmly, her response was to laugh. "You act like you're the king of some castle," she said. "This isn't Game of Thrones, it's a house. A family house." I stared at her from the hallway. Her kids were asleep on the couch, tangled in blankets that smelled like apple juice and graham crackers. Tyler was snoring on my good throw pillow, his mouth wide open like a dying fish. My laptop, my life, was sitting precariously on the edge of the coffee table, next to a spilled sippy cup, and Jessica stood there like she was the one holding the moral high ground. So I made a decision, not an angry one, a surgical one, cold and necessary. I waited until the house was quiet. Then I gathered every power strip from every room, the kids' tablets, Tyler's Xbox, the ring light Jessica used for her brand coaching Zoom calls. I unplugged them all and lined them up on the kitchen table. Then I took a picture. Next morning, I texted her one sentence. "Utilities are a privilege, not a right." Then I changed the Wi-Fi password again. Changed the router name to 30 days is ticking. Put the router in my locked room. At first, she thought I was bluffing. She came pounding on my door, screeching like I'd committed a felony. "You're seriously going to mess with the internet? The kids use it. Tyler has meetings. Tyler has a Twitch stream with 5 viewers, and 3 of them are bots." I called through the door. "And the kids should be playing outside." Silence. Then a scream. Something shattered downstairs. Probably the remote. I didn't care. I had earbuds in. That night, Jessica posted on Facebook about me. Not by name, but it was obvious. One of those vague posts like, "Some people get a little power and forget what family means." It's giving insecurity. It's giving male fragility. It's giving eviction energy. I screenshotted it. Replied to her post with the lease agreement I printed out the day the house became mine. 2 days later, I got a call from a random number. "Hi, this is Brenda from Child Protective Services. We received a call about possible neglect." I hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel shocked. I just stared at the phone and let the bile rise. She went there. She actually weaponized her own children to try and frame me. By the time I called back and explained the situation, showed them the records, the ownership documents, the texts, Brenda apologized and closed the case immediately. "We get cases like this sometimes," she said. "Domestic disputes, weaponized accusations." I didn't even blame her. I blamed Jessica, because this wasn't a petty argument anymore. She wanted war? I was about to serve it to her, plated cold. That night, I typed up a formal notice of breach, unauthorized occupancy, endangerment of property, malicious misrepresentation to authorities, printed 3 copies, taped one to the fridge, one to the front door, and hand-delivered the third to Tyler while he was eating cereal out of a mixing bowl. "You have 10 days," I said. He blinked. "Wait, what is this?" "We thought it was 30. That was before she tried to have me investigated," I said. "Now it's 10. Good luck finding a new couch to freeload on." 10 days sounds generous, until you've got nowhere to go and your whole life fits in 4 overflowing trash bags. Jessica found that out the hard way. On day 3, she tried to stage an intervention, not with therapists or family, with her followers. I came home from the library, where I'd started working part-time just to get some peace, to find my living room transformed into an Instagram set. Ring lights, soft indie music, one of the kids in a pastel onesie holding a handmade sign that said, "Don't make us homeless." I almost laughed. Almost. Jessica was standing in front of the camera, tearfully narrating her version of events to a live audience. "He's my brother," she sniffled, "and now he's weaponizing his grief to control us. Like, yes, technically he inherited the house, but it was Jake's. It's our family home. We all have memories here." She wiped away a single tear with perfect timing. "Please share this. Maybe if enough people see, he'll stop." I stepped into frame. "Jessica," I said calmly, "you have 7 days. Turn off the ring light before I break it." The live stream ended. That night, I started getting DMS from strangers. Some called me a monster. Some offered me money to let her stay. One girl, a Jessica fan apparently, sent me a voice message saying I was disrupting the sacred feminine. I didn't even respond. I printed them all. Every message, every comment. Put them in a manila folder labeled "Exhibits for Court if Needed." Jessica, naturally, spiraled. By day 5, she was crying in the kitchen at least once a day, but not quiet crying. Wailing, always within earshot of her kids, who had started to sense that something big and bad was coming. Tyler, on the other hand, did nothing. Well, not nothing. He drank. He smoked. He watched videos about crypto. Once I passed the bathroom and heard him talking to himself in the mirror about starting a motivational YouTube channel. You can't make this stuff up. The real kicker came on day 6. I was working on my resume, applying for a tech admin job downtown, when I noticed something weird with the thermostat. It was 82 degrees in the house. I tried to adjust it from my app and got an error. I walked downstairs. Jessica was standing next to the wall-mounted control, unplugging wires. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't even flinch. "Oh, I'm sorry. You're the only one allowed to control the house now? You're sabotaging the HVAC system. Do you want to get sued?" She shrugged. "If we can't live here, might as well make it hard for you." That was it. No more warnings. No more compassion. I called a locksmith that night. Had the front door rekeyed with a deadbolt she didn't know about. My bedroom had already been reinforced. Then I called my friend Marcus, who runs a moving crew, told him to block out next Friday for a full eviction job. Then, I crafted my masterstroke. I created a public Instagram post. One photo. A copy of Jake's will with my name circled in red. Caption: "For those who've been misinformed." I tagged her. She lost her mind. 30 minutes later, she was banging on my door, mascara smeared, screaming about violated trust and emotional terrorism. "You made this public? You're humiliating me." "You did that to yourself, Jess." She lunged at me. I caught her wrists, held her back, not hard, but firm, and for a second we just stared at each other. Not siblings, not family, just 2 people who'd been raised in the same broken house and turned into opposite ends of the emotional spectrum. "You think you're better than me," she whispered, "just because he picked you." "No," I said. "I think I'm finally done pretending we're equals." Update number 1. So I didn't expect to be writing this already, but the way y'all came through, I had to. First off, damn, I didn't realize how many of you have a Jessica in your life. The DMs, the comments, the sheer amount of people yelling, "Change the locks" and "Call Judge Judy" had me rolling. Y'all really turned my spiral into a group exorcism. And for that, I love you. To answer the most common questions, yes, the kids are okay. They're honestly the only reason I didn't throw Jessica out earlier. It kills me to see them caught in her tornado of narcissism. But I've documented everything. Every missed daycare payment, every time they were left with me while she networked. I've even got screenshots of her texts saying things like, "Can you watch them again? I need a break." So if she tries to paint me as the villain in court, she's got another thing coming. And yes, I've got a lawyer now, a good one. Her name's Tamika. She's been through 2 divorces, and she asked if Jessica had any public meltdowns we can use. I said, "How much time you got?" The best comment so far? Someone said, "Change the Wi-Fi name to 'This House is Mine' and blast eviction notices from a Bluetooth speaker." Not gonna lie, that's tempting. But enough about that. Y'all wanted revenge? Friday's coming. And I promise, She won't see it coming. Let's just say it involves a moving truck, a very awkward live stream, and her precious brand getting a reality check in real time. Stay tuned. It gets real. Friday felt like Christmas morning for emotionally exhausted older siblings everywhere. Jessica had no idea what was about to hit her. I took the day off work. Marcus and his moving crew showed up at 9 a.m. sharp. Three big guys in navy shirts, sleeves rolled, no-nonsense energy. One of them took one look at the front porch clutter and muttered, "Jesus, you said this was a house, not a daycare." By 9:15 they were inside, stacking boxes, carefully wrapping furniture. I'd labeled everything the night before, blue painter's tape for their stuff, nothing else touched. I wanted this clean, legal, documented. Jessica emerged from her bedroom at 9:22 in a robe and panic. "What the hell is happening?" "Eviction," I said flatly, holding up the clipboard with her name, the date, and the county-stamped notice taped to it. Just like the paper on the fridge said, 10 days, today is 10. "You said we had 30. Number, I said you had 30, until you called CPS and tampered with the thermostat. That voided the grace period," she sputtered. "You can't do this." Marcus stepped forward. "Legally, he can. Ma'am, if you interfere, we're allowed to call the sheriff. I've got the dispatch line on speed dial." She started to cry. Real tears this time, messy and primal. Her voice cracked. "Where are we supposed to go, huh? You think it's easy finding a place with 2 kids and a dog and no money?" I didn't flinch. "You should have thought about that before you started live streaming lies about me." The kids were at daycare, thank God, but Tyler was still passed out on the couch, shirtless, half a Pop-Tart stuck to his chest. When he finally woke up and realized what was happening, he stared like a raccoon caught in a flood. "Bro, you serious? This is foul." I pointed to a box labeled podcast gear, untested. "You might want to grab that. Pretty sure it's the only thing in here you actually own." By 10:30, most of their belongings were in the driveway. By 11 o'clock, the locksmith arrived again and rekeyed the back door. By 11:30, Jessica was on her phone sobbing into Instagram Live again, saying things like, "He's evicting his own nieces," and "Jake would never want this." I waited until she got 40 viewers. Then I stepped into frame holding a laminated copy of the will. "This is Jake's will," I said. "He left the house to me, not her, not her boyfriend, not her kids, me. She was never on the lease, she was never a tenant. She was a squatter with a ring light." The comment section blew up. She lunged at me, tried to slap the paper out of my hand, but Marcus stepped between us. "Touch him, and I call the cops." Again, she broke down on the front lawn, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline. I stood over her, not smug, just exhausted. "You thought you could bully me into giving up everything Jake left me," I said. "But you forgot. This was never your home. You just squatted in someone else's grief." By noon, the truck was gone. She stood there with Tyler and a bunch of bags, still trying to figure out who to call. I changed the Wi-Fi name one last time, kicked out by karma. Later that night, my phone buzzed. It was a screenshot from Kelsey, Jessica's best friend. Apparently, someone recorded the Instagram Live and reposted it with the caption, "Girl boss tries to steal dead brother's house, gets evicted on camera." It had 47,000 views in 6 hours. Justice is digital now, I guess. You ever feel your blood run cold before your brain even catches up? That was me, 5 days after the eviction, standing at the kitchen window sipping coffee when I saw Jessica's car pull back into the driveway. Not park, not turn around, pull in, like she lived here. I walked out onto the porch, phone in one hand, jaw clenched. And there she was, emerging from the driver's side in a full face of makeup, oversized sunglasses, holding a manila folder like she was serving papers in a courtroom drama. She was alone, but I could see her phone in selfie mode, already recording. "You're trespassing," I said before she could open her mouth. She smirked. "Not if I'm delivering legal documents." I almost laughed. "Jessica, if that's a letter from God himself telling me to forgive you, it's going straight in the shredder." She waved the folder. "It's not forgiveness I'm after. It's justice." I wish I was making this up. Inside the folder, a handwritten list of items she claimed I unlawfully confiscated during the move. Things like custom curtains from Walmart, Tyler's vision board, and my personal favorite, emotional labor, accumulated over 6 months of unpaid domestic contributions. You read that right. She tried to invoice me for emotional labor. "You've been on TikTok too long," I muttered, but she wasn't done. "Also," she said, pointing her phone at me, "I have evidence that you created a hostile environment. I'm filing a civil harassment claim." That's when the second car pulled in, and I saw her backup, Kelsey, her ride or die, armed with a Starbucks and a pit bull-like energy that made her 10 times more unhinged than Jessica. She got out of the car wearing a shirt that said, "Protect women, not property." No hello, no context, just straight to screaming. "You can't kick out a single mother in this economy," she bellowed. "We have rights." I blinked. "Do you have a law degree to go with that latte?" I majored in communications, she screamed. Like that proved her point. I took out my phone and started recording. For the record, I said calmly, you are both trespassing. You were given proper notice. The eviction was legal. If you don't leave in 5 minutes, I'm calling the sheriff. Jessica's hand was trembling now. Her eyes flicked to Kelsey, then back to me. Her voice cracked. Jake would have hated you for this. Jake left the house to me because he knew what you'd do, I said, my voice sharp. And if you want to talk about hate, maybe ask yourself why none of his friends spoke at your little Instagram memorial. Silence. Jessica's hand dropped. They left. But not before Kelsey kicked over one of my potted plants and screamed, "Enjoy your sad little kingdom." Honestly, I do. That night, I installed new security cameras, got floodlights, changed my legal status with the county to flag the house as vulnerable to harassment. I thought that would be it. I thought I'd seen the worst. But then came the letter, delivered by hand. No stamp, just slipped under my door. No return address, no signature, typed, single-spaced, in all caps. I know what you did to Jessica. This isn't over. You think you won. Watch your back. The paper smelled like cheap cologne. Tyler. It had to be. Update number 2. All right, Reddit. Buckle up. Because what started as an eviction saga turned into a full-on community spectacle. I didn't plan for it. I didn't want it. But when people show you who they are, sometimes the best thing you can do is let them have the stage and record everything. First off, the anonymous letter confirmed it was Tyler. Why? Because the idiot used the same cologne he's been dousing himself in since high school. I showed it to my lawyer. We laughed, then filed for a no-contact order the next morning. But here's the part y'all won't believe unless you've met someone like Jessica. She held a protest outside my house. Yeah, I woke up to chanting. She got 6 of her influencer friends, and Kelsey obviously, to show up with handmade signs that said, "Family over property," and "Single moms deserve shelter." One had a cardboard cutout of Jake's face taped to a stick like he was part of it. I kid you not. Here's where it backfired beautifully. The neighbors came out, at first to watch, then to clap when I turned on the sprinklers, then to shout back. I heard Mrs. Kwan from next door yell, "Go live somewhere else, freeloaders," while her cat watched from the porch. Cops came. Protest disbanded. Jessica screamed something about emotional damages. But the best part? Local news had picked up the Instagram live stream. Headline: Influencer gets evicted by brother, tries to reclaim house with protest, fails spectacularly. Jessica deleted her account. Kelsey posted a cryptic story about false narratives and choosing peace. Meanwhile, I sat on my porch that night with a beer, my laptop, and peace for the first time in 6 months. Jake, wherever you are, I handled it. I protected what you left me. And to the rest of you still dealing with your own Jessicas, stay petty, stay legal, and when it's time for revenge, make sure there's Wi-Fi so the world can watch. Final part coming next. You don't want to miss the epilogue. The street was quiet again. No chants, no signs, no screams. Just the steady hum of crickets and the occasional bark from Mrs. Kwan's emotionally fragile Pomeranian. After the protest flopped and the news ran that beautiful little segment, I thought maybe, just maybe, Jessica would slink off into whatever corner of the internet failed influencers go to lick their wounds. But that would have required shame. And if Jessica had any shame, this story wouldn't exist. No, she wasn't done yet. 3 days after the protest, I got a knock at the door. It wasn't Jessica. It was someone worse. Our mother. Now, I haven't talked about her much because she wasn't around during the early mess. She lives 3 states away, retired, spends most of her time sending minion memes and complaining about HOA fees. But apparently, Jessica had been calling her every single day with tales of injustice. "She's homeless," Mom said the second I opened the door. "No hello, no hug, just judgment in cardigan form." "She's not homeless," I said. "She's manipulative, entitled, and uninvited." Mom crossed her arms. "She's your sister. She's also a grown adult who lied, stole, live-streamed false accusations, and tried to weaponize Jake's memory to squat in a house she had no legal right to." "You're being dramatic." Oh, there it was. That old familiar sting. That moment you realize the parent who was never on your side still isn't. Even when you have documents and timestamps and video evidence, you know Jake would have wanted you to look after her, she said. I stepped aside, motioned to the framed will on the wall. He wanted me to protect the house from exactly this. He didn't leave it to her. He didn't even mention her. Her face cracked a little at that. Not guilt. Just disappointment that her golden child narrative was collapsing under the weight of reality. I just thought maybe we could sit down as a family. "No," I said. "There is no family meeting. There is no both sides." She chose the drama. I chose peace. Then I shut the door. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but Jessica made one last attempt. She showed up that night, alone. No makeup, no live stream. Just her, standing on the porch like a ghost that forgot it wasn't welcome. I don't want to fight anymore, she said. I just want to come inside. One last time. I stared at her. Really looked. She looked tired. Not performative tired, not influencer exhausted. Just small, like the storm finally emptied out of her. But I didn't budge. Jessica, I said, you had 6 months. You turned a gift into a battlefield. You turned me into an enemy because I wouldn't be your landlord and your therapist and your scapegoat. I'm sorry, she whispered. And maybe she meant it, but I didn't care. Go home, I said softly. Wherever that is now. She nodded. Just once. Then turned and walked down the steps into the dark. And for the first time in months, I locked the door behind her and didn't feel like the villain. I felt free. The house felt different after that. Quieter, sure, but not just from the lack of screaming or sticky juice cups left on the stairs. It was something deeper, like the place had finally exhaled after months of holding its breath. I walked through each room the next morning, slowly, deliberately. The guest room, where Tyler had temporarily moved in and ended up sleeping till noon for weeks on end. Empty now, the air fresh again. I opened the window and let the breeze carry out the last traces of his sour cologne. The living room, where Jessica used to film her coaching sessions about finding your voice. The carpet was still dented from her ring light. I vacuumed it, twice. Then I went into Jake's old room. I hadn't touched it since the day I got the will. It was still half storage, half memorial. Boxes of his records, a dusty weight bench, the faded poster of Led Zeppelin he never took down even after turning 30. On the shelf was a small wooden box. I'd seen it before but never opened it. That morning, something told me to. Inside, a folded letter. To whoever ends up in this house, it started. If it's you, Jess, please stop reading. You know why. My breath caught. If it's you, kid, then I guess I finally made a decision. I never said it enough, but I saw you. I saw how you showed up even when no one asked. How you stayed quiet so the rest of us could be loud. You were always the background character in this family. That was never fair. So here's something that is. Make this place yours. Plant something. Paint the walls. Fill it with sound and people who choose you. Not the ones who think they deserve you. This house deserves peace. So do you, Jake. I sat down on the edge of the bed and cried for the first time since he died. Not the angry, frustrated kind. The good kind. The kind that unplugs something in your chest you didn't realize was stuck. Later that afternoon, I went to the nursery and bought 3 things. A sage plant, a hummingbird feeder, and a can of navy blue paint. I started with the front door, painted it blue. Then I planted the sage by the porch, right where Jessica's protest sign had left a patch of dead grass. And I hung the feeder from the tree where Jake used to sit and play guitar. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was living in someone else's shadow. I felt like I was finally home. Thank you for taking this ride with me. For everyone who's ever had to stand up to the chaos in their own family. Stay strong, stay grounded, and remember, just because someone shares your blood doesn't mean they get to drain you. You get to decide who stays. And sometimes, peace looks like a locked door, a blue front step, and no voices but your own.